Hey guys, welcome back to History Decaying. As you can probably see, I'm back in my living room. Unfortunately, I've still got an injured shoulder. I'm going for an MRI on it tomorrow, so it'll be yesterday for you when this video goes up. Hopefully that will show the issues and the damage I've done, and we'll have a treatment plan, which I'm hoping personally will be surgery to just cut me open, stitch me back together, get me fixed and done, and back out exploring, because honestly I'm pulling my hair out being stuck in my living room for the past pretty much 3 months now. It is driving me insane. But if you do go onto my TikTok, my Instagram, you'll see some of the adventures I've been able to go on, just little clips of them, castles, animal parks, that sort of thing. If you're interested, or if you want to see short form media from me, it is all on there. But today we are going to talk about more of my paranormal stories and my history with the paranormal. So today we're going to focus on my life in the village I grew up in, and what has happened to me in the house there and in and around the village that I grew up in. So I've got my laptop here with just notes on sort of, you know, the reminders of what I want to talk about really. So I'm going to tell you a bit of history about the village I grew up in, just so it sort of tells you or shows you how old the village is, how long it's been there. So the roots of the village, they stretch all the way back to the Neolithic times, and there's 2 cromlechs which you will see I've done a paranormal investigation out with Mom and Danny. They date from approximately 4000 BC, so that's how long that part of Wales has been inhabited. In the 1800s, it was an area of industrial, you know, in the era of the Industrial Revolution. The community was farming, slate work, which is the stereotype for Wales, I guess. It was also around this time that it became a tourist destination. Bournemouth, just down the road, was very popular with tourists. The village now is home to approximately 700 permanent residents, which is why I love it there, because it's quiet, it's peaceful, everybody kind of knows each other. But during the holiday season, so right now, 10,000 people a year will descend upon Bournemouth and the village I grew up in, which makes a massive difference. So, with a brief look at the history, not much really happened there during the war. You will have heard me talk about during the farmhouse videos that there was a munitions depot about 15 miles up the road in a place called Paranormal. And they supplied a hell of a lot of bombs for the Allied efforts during the war, and some of them munitions were stored in the village I grew up in just off the beach. There's a small pillbox on the beach as well. Don't 100% know when it was built, what it was used for, but it's something I want to sort of, next time I'm down in August, first 2 weeks of August, there will be explores, paranormal investigations, depending on what I can do with my shoulder, whether it's been fixed or not. Hopefully I can be a bit more mobile than I have been. So yeah, that's the village I grew up in. The village I grew up in is called Dyffryn Ardydwy in Gwynedd, Wales. Kind of sick of just saying the village I grew up in. That's where I grew up. I love that place so much. But on to the spookier side of Dyffryn and my house. So the earliest paranormal encounter I can remember in this house, and most likely the most frequent, is someone or something that me and my family have dubbed the Big Black Man. Now, that's not a racist thing. He's just a big black mass that appears every now and then. They're infrequent visits, once, twice, maybe 3 times a year. Maybe. Not often though. and he'll just kind of peek his head in, have a wee look around, and then he'll go again. And when we first moved in there, it was a bit creepy, a bit like, don't like that, there's just this big figure that appears out of nowhere, or he peeks his head around door frames, and you go, oh, I didn't expect to see that, didn't want to see that, but you do. Then as time went on, as we became more comfortable in the house, you know, maybe a year or two in the house, we noticed he came, not at times a struggle, not at times a need, just when maybe one of us were feeling a wee bit down or a wee bit bummed out, and he'd just stick his head around and he'd sort of make sure everything was okay, and then as soon as he was there, he was gone. I've seen him, my mom's seen him, my brother's seen him, Derek's seen him, so we've all seen this figure when we've needed a little bit of comfort, a little bit of reassurance. It's always nice to see him. It's always a good feeling to see him, and he's just become part of the house now. Nobody freaks out when we see him, nobody jumps or anything like that. It's just really comforting, and it's something I miss about the house. Obviously I miss my mum and Derek, and I miss the views and everything, but I miss his comfort. So on to the next one I want to talk about, which is it seems, because we've lived there, or my mum and my stepdad have lived there for about 23, 24 years now, and it's home. You know, when you walk in somewhere and it's home, that's always been that place for me. But it seems that we call it home. A lot of friends and relatives that have unfortunately passed on to the other side will come and visit us there. Now, two people in particular that loved the house are people I call Uncle Ray and Auntie Sheila. Now, they weren't blood relatives, they were Mum and Derek's best friends, and they sadly passed away far too soon, far earlier than we were ready to say goodbye to them. But I know they're still around. I've felt them. You will have seen tattoos on my hands. Are honours to them. That's how important they were to us. But they still come and visit. So on the occasions that I've gone back to Wales without Danny, I will normally sit in the kitchen and I'll watch some crap, or I'll be researching somewhere to go investigate or somewhere to go explore, and I'll hear this voice, and it's a very distinct voice, and I know for a fact 100% it is my Auntie Sheila. Now, my Auntie Sheila had a voice that sounded like she'd smoked 100 fags a day since she was about 4 years old, and to quote Ray, it's one of the reasons he fell in love with her, because of the uniqueness of her voice. Now, she was an incredible woman anyway, but her voice was so distinctive, so unique, you just knew when she was there. So I'll be looking at a place to investigate or to explore, and I'll be doing I don't do a lot of research, but a little bit of, is it worth it, where is it, that sort of research into the place. And I'll hear a voice say, that one, or a feeling that tells me she's there saying, go to that one, you want to go to that one. And to be honest, she's never been wrong, never. She was heavily into the paranormal as well, so I believe she would have loved what I'm doing with this channel, what History of Decaying is becoming. So I take that as her supporting me, basically. Now, Ray, I've not witnessed him too much in the house or around it many times, but Ray was one of, if not the most mechanically minded men I've ever known that for some reason wasn't a mechanic. Guy was a genius as far as I'm concerned. and the fact that he could keep his BMW combo, I'll insert a picture of it here. This is where this man was at home, was on this motorcycle. It's part of the reason I've got the BMW, it is the reason I've got the BMW logo tattooed on my hand. But I love working on cars and bikes as well. So if I'm having a bit of difficulty, be it here, be it at my in-laws, be it at home, whenever I've got greasy hands or oily hands and something's going wrong, I will hear Ray's voice say, "You can do this." So my second bike, I was working on that. No, it wasn't my second bike because he was still alive. It would have been the motorcycle I've got here. Working on her, things are going wrong, I'm slinging my tools around the shed, I'm threatening to sell the bike, burn it, whatever. And I'll hear him say, "You can do it, son, don't give up." So it's always nice to know he's there and to know he's comforting and supporting me really with what I'm trying to do at that point. But unfortunately not all my experiences in that house have been positive or have been good. So we're going to go for a slightly darker one here because, you know, can't have good without the bad. So one night, don't ask me where I was before this, don't ask me what I was doing because I haven't got a clue. But I came in late, which wasn't abnormal for me. Where Dyffryn, if you look it up, if you know the area, it's right on the coast of Wales. So there'd be nights where I'd walk down the beach just to have a cigarette on a sand dune and I'd walk back home from the beach. There'd be nights where I'd walk down the beach at 10 o'clock at night and I didn't walk back through the door. Sorry about that, guys, my light just died on the top of my camera, so where was I? Yeah, so I'd walk down the beach just for the hell of it basically, and I wouldn't come back until early hours. Don't know if that's what I was doing this night, honestly cannot remember. It's probably about 18 years ago. So, ow. So what happened is I walked in late, nothing new there. Walked through the front door, through the living room, to the kitchen, and I was going into the kitchen to have a cigarette before I went to bed. So I'm gonna say it was probably between 12 and 2. And at the back of our house we've got a conservatory. So I walked into the kitchen, flicked the kitchen light on, and there is someone stood in the conservatory staring through the kitchen window. A man staring through the kitchen window into the kitchen. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I shit myself. I properly fucking shit myself. And I was frozen on the spot in the door. And initially I thought someone had broken into the house. And then I took a closer look at this person. Now I'm going to insert a picture of what this person looked like from memory. Now this isn't exactly what they look like. This is an image from TV show Supernatural. But this is the only way I can show you what this person looked like. Now, when I looked at them, I thought they'd broken in. I thought it was a real person. And then I looked closer and I realised this person's far too old to be alive. Far, far too old to be alive. And I froze then. Like, I was properly frozen, done, couldn't move. And he just stared dead at me. Never moved, never flinching, just staring at me. And I was there for a while, a good while, and I want to say at least a minute. Now it doesn't seem like a long time, but when you're stood still with something staring what felt like into your soul, it's a long time. It feels like an eternity. And all I could feel when he stared at me was sadness, was pain. was desperation, is the only way I can describe it. But it started to twist and feel like it was my pain and my sadness. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I had a pretty rough few years as a teenager. Battles with depression and anxiety and thoughts that I'm not going to go into in this video, but I wouldn't have been sat here making this video. Thoughts. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and eventually, I don't know how long it was, like I said, but my brother came in. And I'm brave with spirits. I've got no issue in being antagonistic, in being challenging, in facing things head on. I don't know where they come from, but my brother's got balls of an Isle of Man TT racer when it comes to spirits, and he just walked into the kitchen and went fuck off, and off it went. And I've never seen it again. And you're going to see, hopefully, some of that with my brother in some future paranormal investigations, because he's definitely coming on one with me next month. Another visit to the chapel. I don't want to keep going back to the same locations repeatedly. This one's easy to get into. We know it's paranormal. We know we've got paranormal activity there. It's owned by a friend, so we've always got access to it until he sells it. But that is what it is. So yeah, you'll see Connor and my brother in a paranormal investigation, and hopefully you'll see some of them, like I said, Isle of Man TT racer balls come out, and it's funny for me looking back on it how fucking big his stones are with that. But on to the next. Now, for a while through my life, I relied heavily on alcohol. I wasn't an alcoholic, but there was a lot of demons in my head that I could only silence with a drink. Now, it's not the healthy thing to do, but I'm not here to lecture anybody on what to do. But I spent a lot of times in the next village along, called Talabont, and a pub called the Escathan. And it's about a mile or so walk from my house. And it was mainly fields, empty land, and small villages. So, spent a bit of time there. Now, I'm not going to say I drank a lot. I didn't. 3, maybe 4 pints. And it wasn't every night, maybe every other night, every 3 nights, whatever. So I wasn't drinking excessively, but I drank a bit to silence some voices. And I remember one night, now I always stayed till closing because a friend worked there, which was a benefit. Sorry, dry throat, monsters, obviously the essential. Stayed till roughly closing, which was probably about 11 PM. Small village, winter, they don't stay open too late. So, walking home, and like I said, it's about a mile, not too far. Just kept walking. Walked home, probably had earphones in, or I was talking to the person I knew at the time. And I eventually get home. Now, I'm pretty sure you're wondering, why are you telling me about you going to drink and walking home? So, I left the pub around about 11 o'clock. I didn't walk through my front door until 3 AM. And I have no recollection of where them 4 hours went. Now, I did not get abducted by aliens and I didn't get anal bummed. But I remember leaving the pub. I remember walking through my front door. The in-between of that, gone. But it was 4 hours to walk a mile. Doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I know, you know, for every mile you walk when you're drunk, you walk 2 miles. I wasn't drunk. You can ask anybody I know, it takes far too much to get me drunk. I don't know where them 4 hours went. Not a clue. I wish I did. but it's just a blank. And it was a blank that day. It was a blank the morning after, or the afternoon after, when I eventually got out of bed. I don't know where that time went. It just vanished. Could be paranormal. I don't know. It's up to you to make your mind up on that. I just know it went. But my next story takes us to the pub. Even better. I prefer going to the pub to walking home from it. That's for sure. So I was walking to the pub, probably 6, 7 in the evening. Sunny, bright, beautiful day. I remember this like it was yesterday. I can still vividly see what I saw that day. So I'm walking to the pub, and I've walked out the village, and there's a long sort of right hand bend. It's lovely when you're driving it, especially at speed. Please, I don't do that, honest. But it's a nice sweeping corner. And on the left hand side of that corner, as you're coming out of the village, is like a raised field. And there's like walling, grass, fence, field, normally horses in this field. So I'm walking to the pub, and I'm just minding my own business. Got wired earphones in, because that's how it was back then. And I look to my left, and there's like little cutouts where these steps are. And I look to my left, and sat on the steps is my sister-in-law. Well, my now sister-in-law, it was my brother's fiance at the time, Peter. And I jumped. I know I jumped. I physically jumped. And I was convinced that she was there. And I looked back, and she was gone. Poof, gone. Now, I was so fucking convinced that I saw her sat there that I text my brother. Where Dufferin has shit phone signal back then. You couldn't text really. It'd take like 2 days. You had to stand in funny positions on tables doing the Macarena to get a signal. But to phone, sorry. So I sent my brother a text, knowing he'd get it eventually when I hit a pocket signal, saying, "Is everything okay with you and Pete? Like, I've just fucking seen her sat in Dufferin." So he texts me back and goes, "Yeah, bro, we're all cool." What? And I was like, "I just saw her walking to the pub. I'm, sat on the steps." And he was like, "No, bro, we're at home." Where did she come from? Why did I see my sister-in-law sat on the steps? Now, I had to text immediately, because somebody care about. Obviously, you know them. I've known her for years. But there was this thing of like, either something's wrong or someone's playing fucky buggers. Now, being a pagan, I lent to something was wrong. It was just this gut feeling. But now I believe someone was playing fucky buggers with me. So if that was you, fuck you. But that's one that sticks out with me, and I still have this wee thing about walking past that field. Am I going to see her sat there again? Now, you'll be happy to know that is the end of my dark stories. We have a couple of nice and light and fluffy ones for you. And these, I believe, all involve the same man, and a great man who holds a massive piece in my heart, and that's my granddad. Now, unfortunately, he passed away 3 years before I was born, so I never met him, but I know he was a fantastic man. He raised, 2 amazing daughters, obviously one's my mom, but he was a great man. Now, I believe these are about him, I don't know. So the first story is, I was in the kitchen, and I was making dinner. Now, my parents are away on the Isle of Man, and I think it was for the Manx GP. So the day they were coming home, I thought, you know what, I'm going to make them a slap up meal. They've been camping for 2 weeks. I love camping. Food ain't great when you're camping, but it's okay. So I'm like, I'm going to make you a full roast chicken dinner. But I went the whole hog. I was making homemade fucking bread sauce, everything. all the trimmings, it was going to be a slap up meal. But that's not the important part. I just want to show off that I'm a good cook, which you may see in future videos. We'll see. But I remember I was stood, so you got the kitchen sink, a little bit of worktop, and in front of that is the kitchen window that thing was staring through at me. And it backs out onto the field of our back garden. So I was stood there, and I just finished for probably like the 24,000th time watching Band of Brothers, and there's a stereo in the conservatory, so I was playing the Band of Brothers soundtrack. Now, I know I don't look like the sort of person that would listen to that, but I do. I love that, the soundtrack to Band of Brothers. Anyway, not important. So I'm just stood there, prepping veg, doing whatever, peeling, chopping, and we've got a hardwood floor in the living room, and I heard footsteps come across it, and I remember looking at the clock, and I thought, oh, they're early, and turned around, expected to see Mum and Derek stood in the doorway. There was nothing. Absolutely no one there. But out the corner of my eyes, I'm looking at the kitchen door, so I've turned around, I'm looking in this direction to the kitchen door. In this direction, towards the conservatory, I just saw this electric blue flash go round the corner into the conservatory. And the music turned up considerably. Now, I had it reasonably loud. It turned up, bang, like, deafeningly loud. And I left it at that volume for quite some time, because somebody obviously wanted to listen to the music before thinking, maybe I should turn down. Now, at this time, we didn't have permanent neighbours in the terrace, which was brilliant. We had nobody there. So I went to turn it down. So say I had it at 10. The volume had gone up to 20. It doubled the volume, and I was shocked. As for the footsteps, I believe it was whatever this blue flash was walking through the living room to get there. Now, this is a safe village, so I've never had issue with playing music loud, being in the house with my headphones on, or playing my guitar at fucking 11. So the door's always unlocked, so I just didn't put it down to anything apart from it could be my parents walking through the door. But this wouldn't be the last time this happened. I remember, I believe it was the first Christmas that me and Danny were spending at my house, at home for me. We try to alternate it, doesn't always work, but we try to alternate it between here and there. And it was Christmas Eve, and we hadn't had a chance to wrap presents. Neither of us drove at the time, so we'd had to catch the train down to Wales. So we didn't bother wrapping any presents because they'd just get fucked up anyway. So we were staying up, I believe it was Christmas Eve, might have been the night of the 23rd into the 24th. We sat around the kitchen table wrapping Christmas presents, and we've got that stereo playing, and we've got Christmas music on it. But we had like the old Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Rat Pack, you know, sort of 50s, 60s, the good Christmas songs playing. And we just sat there, we're wrapping presents, we're chilling, we're talking, we're doing whatever. Danny sees a blue flash go behind me in the kitchen. I'm sat with my back to the door, she's facing the door, and she sees this blue flash go across my back and into the conservatory and turns up the stereo. And it was quite loud. Now, Mum and Derek had gone to bed, that's why we were wrapping presents. They couldn't see what we were doing or what they were getting. So I decided to test it at this point. And I said, Grandad, if that's you, can you turn it down? Mum and Derek are in bed. And down the volume went. Now, I already know what skeptics are going to say. There's an issue with stereo. And I'd agree. I would agree. If it had happened once. It happened twice, and it turned down pretty much on command. So I I can't put it down to anything but my granddad. My granddad loved music. Most, well, I say most, three of his grandchildren play instruments, myself and 2 of my cousins. We all play music. But he did play music. He played the, can't remember what it's called now. Name's completely gone. Accordion. That's what he played. He played the accordion. But he loved music. So that's the only thing I can put it down to, is he wanted to listen to the music. And as I've told you before, pictures would move in the house. That was my granddad. I've always put it down to he's just coming round and visiting. But in my head I tried to debunk this, going, is it vibrations? 2 different genres of music, 2 different volumes. How did it turn down, and why all of a sudden did it turn up after seeing this blue flash? People would say electrical. Blue flashes of electric don't move through the middle of a room. And when I say the middle of a room, like if I was face backwards to you, the blue light was like that far away from my head. The wall's another meter, meter and a half behind where I was sat. It's not that. But for comfort, I just put it down to it's my granddad, and I love that. But that is enough for now, guys. That is my paranormal stories from the village I grew up in. There will be more. The last time I was down in March, I sat and I went and I talked to my mom, and I went, I've got all of her paranormal stories, so I'm going to shoot that video soon. It will still be from my living room, because I just can't get out to record anywhere creepier at the moment. But like I said, there will be more coming. Now, I want to apologise. I know I promised you guys a bigger year than last year, and I still want to try and keep that promise, but I need to focus on my health now. But I am going to try and shoot videos and come up with ideas of videos I can shoot in the house that will all have something history, something creepy, or just some weird curiosities I have about the world. Yes, I started this channel for urban exploring and paranormal investigation, but I've quickly established I don't want to get boxed into one corner. I want this channel to be eclectic, to be fun, to be different. You will always get the abandoned, the paranormal, the creepy, because that's what I love. I am obsessed with it almost. But you're going to get social history, you're going to get social experiments. Not like the weird guys that make racist comments on the streets to see what people say. I mean, I want to spend time in history. Bit of a clue for you there of things I want to try and do. I want to just explore my youth, explore the differences between youth then and youth now. Like I mentioned, I'm a cook, so I don't know whether to, I've got a small kitchen, but I can make it work, do some historic recipes and we try them together. But any suggestions you have of some weird and wonderful history stuff that I can do from the comfort of my couch, from my shoulder, in the pain it's in. I am on dihydrocodeine for it, although great, send me fucking doolally, so I won't be taking them before shooting videos. But thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for the patience. Like I said, there's more posted on Instagram and TikTok of my little mini adventures and days out with Danny, so if you want to see them, head over, subscribe, follow me, you know, all the usual shit. But as always, guys, I'll see you soon. Bye.